Welcome to Radio Fixer's channel. Subscribe for upcoming videos. Really, my goal is to create these videos so a brand new person can use the information and be able to get into the hobby. It is really a wonderful hobby and very rewarding to bring back something that totally dead back to life and sing again. Hopefully it's not because they broke the pen. Sometime, when they break the pen, they try to use too much solder on it. We will find out after removing the solder. Hopefully the pen is okay. If it's not, I'm in big trouble because I don't have those type of tube socket. Let me remove it to see what's going on. Alright, I unsoldered that, and definitely, as I thought, the pen was broken, so they put tons of globs of solder over there to make the connection. See, this was right there, and there's a wire also attached to it, and this capacitor. So my assumption, whoever was replacing this, instead cut these wires and solder the new capacitor to it, which I will show you how to do that. They try to remove the capacitors and they broke off the pen from the tube. This is right here. It broke off all the way to the end. I left a little solder over it. There's so much things going on. You do not want to take the wires from the pen out, the capacitor wires. You want to cut here, give yourself some space, then solder the new capacitor to this wire to make it easier for the next person want to fix this. One other thing they did, this capacitor was not even wrapped around it. It was putting it right on top of it and soldered that way to all that glob of solder. I need to find a better way to fix this because I don't have this socket, and to remove this is a big mess. You have to drill those pins out and find something to fit here, which I do not have it. But we're going to find a way to fix this. As always, we have to find a way. When you're working on old radios, old antique equipment, you have to figure things out. That's what the challenge I like about all working on this type of thing. You always need to find out. And that capacitor, now I know where it hooked up. If I move this capacitor out now of the way, so I can see what's going on underneath. Look at the other one. I mean, they have stuff going all over this capacitor. There's a resistor over it. I mean, gosh, it's going to be tough to work on this. They don't give you enough space. Everything's on top of each other, all the wires. But we will figure it out, right? This was hooked up to pin 3. See, this is where the key is. 1, 2, 3. So that is this capacitor, and that hooked up to pin 3. I'm going to document that so I don't forget. This is going to take a little time to figure out how to fix this. So you see this capacitor, when I take it out, I'm going to find out what size it is. Then I'm going to document here. Hooked up to pin 3 of 50L6, and the other side of it hooked up to the power switch, this side. This is going to again help me when I want to put it together. Always documenting. Yes, it will take time, but you're not going to make as much mistake if you're documenting, alright? I also take pictures too. I take tons of pictures. Picture and documenting. Hopefully one of them will save me in the end. Alright, what I did, I cleaned this. You see now I took all the extra wires out. So that piece was the part of the pen that it broke off. I traced it down. It goes to the primary speaker wire. So this is still soldered to this little piece of metal here, but I cleaned everything else. I know what I'm going to do with this later. What I did is cut this off. I'm going to use these wires to build a new one. And here, of course, there is a 40. That's a red. Another 40 is red. 20 blue. I removed that capacitor here that was hooked up to here, and I cleaned that. This is really hard. I looked at it on the magnifying glass. It's a 0.02 microfarad. I already documented here, so I remember what I need to install. Unfortunately, I cannot remove one at a time because you see they're all over each other. And that's why I'm documenting one by one. So let's see what else I can take out. To give you a quick example, usually what I do, see this is where the key is. So this is pen 1, 2, 3, 4. So this side is hooked up to pen 4, these capacitors, and the other side I already moved it and cut it. It hooked up to this post right here, and this then to the right side post. As a matter of fact, I put those information in the paper. Yeah, you see 7B7, pen 4. This is a capacitor hook up here. Usually I document it like this, then make it much easier. Again, if I could replace this one by one, you know, that could be much easier, but you see there are some underneath this big capacitor that I have to remove, be able to get to the others. Sometimes that's what I do. Or you can just leave it loose one side like that, up like that, so you know later on when to cut it. And that's another option. And I share this for those people just got started, so don't get overwhelmed, you know, don't take all of them out. You know, you can do this also, but make sure to document. It's very important to document. And take bunch of pictures, documenting and picture. Alright, so hopefully this is going to help you as well. So I'm going to cut this out because I already documented. So I'm going to give myself enough extra wire because I do not want to unsolder all this. And that's what the last person did here. They tried to unsolder capacitor and they broke off these pins. So I don't want to do that. So I left some extra wire here. Then the new one going to be soldered right to here, to this post. And also to here. I left it a space as well. Is right here. That's the easiest way. You know, the next person again, whoever is after me, they can unsolder just those and replace it quicker. Again, do not try to unsolder all this. If you do that, you might break, you know, those pins. So let's see what this is, this capacitor. I need to look at it on the magnifying glass. There's nothing on it. Maybe if I clean some of this wax. I checked this under the magnifying glass and there is nothing on it. There is no identification on it at all. The only thing I see here says letter B, right this corner. I don't know what that means. I'm going to be forced to go and find a schematic for this radio. Usually I don't look for a schematic unless I have to, especially if the radio has not been touched before. You know, you can just take the capacitor out and take some of the wax off. Then it's easy to read what type of capacitor they installed. But this one, nothing. Has a little green band here. I don't know what that is. Let me start looking for the schematic. As you notice, I removed about 3 capacitors here. They were all on top of each other. But I document all the 3 that I removed. So now is the best time, since the capacitors are out, to check the resistor. So this one right here, we're going to measure it as a 2.2 meg. So what I will do now, I'm going to go to the database that I designed to make my job easier. Otherwise I don't remember all these colors, you know. Let's go to that database and key that in to see what tells us. As I mentioned in my other videos, I designed this to make my job easier. Otherwise I'm not going to remember all those colors. Come on, I don't have that great memory. I call this is a classic resistor. So I'm going to select this. So here, as you remember, it was red, green, and had no band in the end. So I'm going to say no band. In the bottom of the chart, as you see here, it shows the resistance should be 2.2 meg, which ours was 2.2 exactly. Minimum can be 1.8 meg. A maximum 2.6 meg. So we are in the right range, so that does not need to be replaced. I'm going to use this concept and test all the resistors. Just want to show you quickly what I do to make my job easier. It's much faster this way. I'm quickly measuring this. It says 0.04. and you see how off it is. I always change capacitor, just I want to show you, you know, why you're changing capacitor. Still, you see it was very leaky. A bunch of wax comes out of it, as you can tell. So that's why you change them. You see how off it is. Here I'm going to look at to see, okay, I have this type of capacitor. What type of capacitor is compatible to? I select that. Use the drop down. Come to 0.04 right here. Also, I can change the tolerance, you know, whatever tolerance I'm looking for. Let's say 20%, right? So the system tells me I'm looking for yellow jacket is marked as 403, and these are the range, the max and minimum, maximum. And here also is break it down. It says if it's a microfarad is 0.04. If it's a nanofarad, as you saw, my test equipment was showing, you know, NF, and that is a 40 here. Okay, so this is again, I made this thing to make my job easier. It tells me if the range that I'm looking for. Of course, ours, as you saw, it was way off. It's always a good idea also to measure the new one before installing them, because sometimes they might be bad or might be very off. So you see 3947 NF, which that is 0.04 microfarad. So this is in good range. We're going to install this. As I mentioned earlier, you see this here, right here. I left some extra wire here, and also some extra wire here is under this resistor. So what I'm going to do, the new capacitor I'm going to install, I'm going to make the pigtail and the wires and put it right here and solder it to here. I don't want to take all this stuff out, you know. That's the simplest way to do. There's so much things going on here and here as well. So the best is to do that. So what pigtail means, I think they call it pigtail. I already marked that. You know what I did? I brought this close to here. I used a pen. I marked it. I know this is from here to there. See that I put a mark here and put mark there. So I know where the pigtail need to get it started. So it's pretty simple. Get as small as a screwdriver, right? The smallest one you have. Then you put this right over here. Then I start twisting it like that. Alright? That's all you do. You want to be close to each other, but not right on top of each other. You want a little space between them so the solder goes through. I will show you. And the ends is so sharp, so I'm using this tool. Alright? You see that? Here it is. So this goes inside the other piece that I cut. I'm going to do the same thing other side. Okay, this side is also create a pigtail for it. Bend them in those mark area. Now here you see I just put this thing right inside hat. Then I'm going to solder right here because that piece was there. That's all. Alright, you see like that. Let me solder this. I'm going to install the rest of them. Some of them I've used this method, some that I already cleaned. The 2-pen, I'm going to wrap it around 2-pen. See, like here was a big mass, you know, I already cleaned it. This wire, there's a wire come from here to here. There's this yellow wire comes here. And again, yellow wire goes out, yellow wire go out. They all hook up right here. They use this as a junction, these two. I start soldering this capacitor here. Then I said, let me check this resistor. The best way that I know how to do this, when the tubes are out, capacitors are out, is the best time to check resistor. Here I forgot to test it. After I start installing one side, I haven't installed the other side of capacitor. I test this resistor. It is red, silver. When I test this resistor, it shows 2.9 9K. I ran this against the database. Red, 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 silver. As you see, the resistor is 2.2K. Minimum can be 2K. Max 2.4. As you saw, our resistor is much higher than that. I'm glad I remembered to test this one. I tested others, but this one I forgot to test. So we're going to replace this. I already take, of course, one side out to measure it. Even when it was there already hooked up, was over, but I took it out. So I'm going to take that and also the capacitor out, and I'm going to restart all over again. Again, when the capacitors are out, the tubes are out, that's the best time to test the resistor. So I'm going to document it. So remember this thing. This is the capacitor we installed in the tube, this tube, and it's a 0.05. Also, there's a resistor goes here. That's a 2.2K. 2.2K. Alright, now I document it. I can take everything out here. Then I don't need to worry about remembering. Alright, I'm going to take this capacitor out. I just installed the darn thing. Alright, as you notice, I changed all the capacitors here. This is, I put it underneath. All the resistor and capacitor, this side is done. And this resistor, as you notice, that was also replaced. So everything is done up to here. Now I'm focusing this side. This side, as you see, is a big mess. You remember was a capacitor here. I already removed it. Remember this time was broken, this pen. So I'm focusing here because over there was simpler. So I'm going from here to get more comfortable with the setups. Of course, I'm documenting everything where the capacitors are, as I mentioned earlier, even the resistor that I have to replace. So here, this capacitor has been soldered to a resistor, and the resistor and capacitor was soldered to one of the pen. I don't know if I can show it to you closely or not. The problem with this resistor and capacitor was touching the other pen because the way they soldered it. Let me, if I bring it up here for you, see right there, it was touching each other. So that's gonna create shortage, and that is not good at all. So hopefully the tubes are not being damaged because of that. So what I did, I already cut the end of this. I just pulled it up. I already cut it. See, I already cut this. So it was soldered right here. And you see how this is touching this? See how, I mean, it is awful the way they did this. It's absolutely awful. You're not supposed to touch each other. So I have to rearrange all this. I already document this on the page. Before I be able to install this, I need to install the one underneath. Those two, then going to be next. The last one going to be the first one we took out. And so that's the trick, Of course, I cannot change those, until I remove this one. So I'm going to push this aside. As you see, I haven't disconnected from here, and I can do that. But I leave it alone for a little bit. Then later on, it's going to be easier to remember where everything was hooked up. So just want to show you this quickly. Meanwhile, I'm going this direction. I'm going to check the resistors. If any of them bad, I need to replace them. I'll be honest with you, it takes so much time to make these videos, editing, uploading, and make sure there's enough information that it actually makes sense, if you want to follow. At this time, I want to take the opportunity and thank my subscribers with their uplifting comment. You always encourage me to upload more videos, since this is just a hobby of mine. Again, I appreciate you. Enjoy all these videos, and you all have an awesome day. Take care. If you're interested to see more videos like this, feel free to subscribe to my channel, and you will be notified when new video being uploaded. You have a great day.